Hello, this is Matthew Armstrong and welcome to Transformation Talk. Today I have the great pleasure to be speaking with Nathane Jackson. Nathan is a strength and conditioning coach. He's a kettlebell trainer, a nutritionist, and also the owner of Nathane Jackson Fitness, and he's a bit of a celebrity as far as the fitness world goes. He's been on the cover of many magazines and on TV and on radio shows, and also competes as a fitness model as well. So thank you for taking the time to do this interview, Nathan. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
My pleasure, Matthew. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I just want to start off and just maybe go back and give us a bit of background on how you got to be to where you are today, where it all started for you, how you got into fitness, and then the nutrition side, and maybe even how you came to become raw vegan as well.
Yes, you bet. I was a university basketball player, and in the States, and always had access to a strength and conditioning coach and whatnot. So when I finally graduated, I was applying to be an RCMP agent and an OPP, which is basically our law enforcement here in Canada. And I didn't get in my first time, so I had to wait a year in order to take this exam again. And just in that course of the year, I don't know, just kind of lost my interest in it. And the only thing that I really had passion for was going to the gym every day. So I figured, why not make a career out of that? So that's kind of what got me started way back almost, let me see here, 15, 16 years ago. But things have evolved. I started out as a bodybuilder, and kind of that mentality of isolation rules everything. And if I didn't feel the pump, it wasn't a great workout. Or if I wasn't puking after squats, it wasn't a great workout either. All the bad things that we come to know now. But at a time, that's where I started. So many years later, kind of transitioned into more of a functional trainer, so more of a strength conditioning coach through education and whatnot. So a lot of using my body weight and doing things just to help me throughout the course of a day, as opposed to sitting on a bench and picking up a 35-pound weight and curling it with my arms
Right.
15, 20 times, whatever it may be. But that's kind of my backstory for fitness, and just kind of it grew from there, working with athletes and running my online business right now. And actually, I'm also a wellness director here in Toronto through a corporation. But what kind of got me to that point is where probably why you're having me on here is how I went vegan and even taking it a step further, going raw vegan.
Yep.
But about 3 years ago, my mom or 2 years ago, my mom passed away from cancer, but she had it for about 10 years and, did the typical chemo and radiation for 9 of those years, and, didn't really get any better. She had some good years in there, but a lot of it was just a lot of pain and suffering. And it wasn't until that last year there where she got really sick at Christmas time, and a lot of us didn't think that she was going to make it out of the hospital, including herself, I'm sure. But she said if she could get out, she would try an alternative therapy. So I quickly started Googling and researching and everything else, and this was my first taste of it, and more of a holistic side of things. So came up with vitamin C therapy, and sure enough, she got out of the hospital, went and saw a naturopath who changed her nutrition. Started taking megadose vitamin C therapy, which within, I say, 3 months, she was up out of her wheelchair, off of her oxygen mask. She was in Vegas, or Las Vegas, with my dad and their best friends, and just basically living her life the way she should have been living 9 years prior to that. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have a happy ending, and then she did pass away about 9 months later. But this is there's always a silver lining in every cloud, and that it kind of got me on the path of where I'm at now. So as much as I'd love to have my mom back, and knowing what I know now, I truly believe that she'd still be with us. But things as they are, it kind of got me on the path where I am now, like I said, and I've actually helped numerous people battle through cancer and things like that. And obviously I'm not saying just what I had suggested, cured cancer, but it definitely helped with, changing nutrition and making their body a little more alkaline and whatnot. So, and obviously changing somebody's attitude and perspective. And that's kind of what my mom, when she got out of the hospital and took a vacation to Las Vegas, she absolutely loved it there. And my mom and my dad lived there for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I think just that boost and going to Vegas again kind of got her up and willed her out of that wheelchair type thing. But her nutrition at that point really changed into a blood type diet, which I don't really believe in too much now. However, it was so much better than what she was doing at the time, and I think that's what obviously helped her out. But even though it didn't end up, she's not with us today, it definitely learned a lot from this experience, and I think my mom would be proud to know that, even though she's not here, she has sparked my interest and kind of changed my career path more or less in trying to help other people out, so she doesn't have, or they don't have to go through the same pain that she went through.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if obviously through research and nutrition, one thing, I went from the quintessential carnivore, bodybuilder type guy eating chicken twice a day and fish twice a day, beef and whey protein shakes and eggs all twice a day.
Yeah.
Went the vegetarian route, cut out the red meat, did that for a few months, and then I went to more the vegan route and cut out pretty much all animal products, and then obviously went to where I'm at now, which is the raw vegan route. So
yeah,
that's kind of my story there as far as why I did it, and just my education and research and learning how much plant-based diet can actually help somebody cure diseases, or at least rid themselves of all the pain and anguish that goes along with it.
Yeah. I have maybe a similar story with the diet, where I would have eaten a bodybuilder style diet for a long time, and then I went vegetarian, vegan, raw, etc. How did that affect your training? How did that affect your body? Did you did you lose strength? Did you lose weight? Did you gain? What was the results of those changes in your physique, in your fitness, your strength, and also your health and energy levels?
All of the above. It's kind of tough to say, because there's an answer to that, but because I was dealing with my mom's loss at the exact same time as going vegetarian, vegan, and raw, it's kind of unfair, because my mind wasn't 100% there. And I've written about it a few times, because my mental strength wasn't quite what I had accustomed to or was used to. So a lot of times I would fall off the wagon, and it wouldn't be something that is any excuse other than I was just weak-minded. However, that being said, to answer your question, yes, I did lose a little bit of strength initially. I did lose a lot of size initially, and it's all because I didn't do it properly. And that first 6 months, as much research as I did, I didn't learn how to transition properly, especially where I came from. And it wasn't until I hired a naturopath / nutrition or raw food nutritionist that actually helped me out and just said, Nate, you need to forget all the education that you have about nutrition. Just forget it, and trust me, and let's just eat fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and things like that. And as tough as that was, it wasn't until I finally gave up all the education that I knew and all the previous knowledge I had that I finally did start to thrive. And at that point, then I got my size back, most of it at least. And as far as strength goes, I've gotten pretty much all that back, if not have gone further and increased everything. And it's just an easier way, easier lifestyle as well. I don't have to sit in front of the stove anymore and cook Costco-size batches of chicken and beef and and everything else, right? But once they started, once they started to do it properly, everything kind of fell into place. And I'm not saying I don't fall off and have cooked meals once in a while. I still like my sweet potato fries and things like that, but I'd say I'm about 90 to 95% raw vegan right now. Yeah, I'm in a similar place myself right now.
What would you say is what is doing it properly? Because you said you didn't do it properly, and then you started doing it properly. What would your diet consist of really? What is doing it properly?
Well, improperly was more of I relied on beans for a while, which I would never recommend that to anybody. Relied on nuts for a while, which at the time I didn't know about soaking, but even at that point in time, I don't think that would have helped me either, because I was consuming way too much.
Right.
And then I was still stuck in the mindset I got to get my protein, and if I needed to get 30 grams of protein from beans in one sitting, and that's what I was going to do.
Right.
And don't even do the calculation because that's like 3 cans of beans.
Nice. Okay.
But and same thing with nuts, right? It was just like a bag of nuts to get that 30 grams of protein that I was so accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as at the time I was using Vega products, which a great product for transitioning,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time it has pea protein in it, which my body wasn't clean enough for and didn't digest it properly, which created a lot of bloating and gas, and it just wasn't a very wasn't great to be around me at that point in time.
Okay.
But going back to properly doing it, I'm not one who falls in either category of, I'm sure you are well aware of the 80-10-10 philosophy as well as the higher fat philosophy. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. However, I do tend to lean more towards the 80-10-10, but I would never say I'm 80-10-10 person.
Okay.
I do eat a lot of fruit, usually from the beginning of the day to dinner time. My workouts in there at some point. I have a lot of sweeter fruit around my workouts before and after. And then I kind of taper it off to more of the berries and lower glycemic fruits. And then for dinner I just have a large salad with tons of avocado or nuts, and if I'm hungry at night after that, which usually I'm not, but if I do, I'll either have a handful of berries or some sliced apples and things like that. But
Yep.
And for that makes me feel digestion wise is 100% better than anything I've done before, including when I was obviously a carnivore.
Yeah. So your percentage of protein you're getting now is what compared to what it used to be?
I don't even know, but if I had to guess, probably I'd say 75% less than what I used to get.
Yeah.
As far as grams of protein, I'm obviously you and I both know that enzymes and amino acids are what really counts.
Mm-hmm.
But for conversation and for the sake of conversation, people always ask me, where do you get your protein from? I always say leafy greens, and
Okay.
they look at me like, are you nuts? Like, there's no protein in greens, and obviously you have to educate them. And yes, there actually is. It may not be protein, but it's amino acids and enzymes, which obviously leads to replenishing your muscles and rebuilding. So I usually tell them that Popeye had it right, and we all had it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what would you say is the for you to achieve the physique you have? You've pretty much got like this almost like a superhero sort of Superman type physique, and it's something that a lot of people want. That a lot of guys want that. A lot of women want a very fitness type physique as well.
Right.
But not so many people actually achieve it.
Right.
Is for you? Do you think it's genetics, or is it a certain way you trained and ate, or what do you think it is? What are the mistakes that people make, and why aren't they getting the results that maybe you've got?
Well, nutrition always plays, and I've always said this, whether I was a carnivore or raw vegan, is that nutrition always plays 90%. It might be a little bit high, but especially for myself, being a strength coach or a personal trainer, a lot of people will think that I'm pushing my programs and a proper exercise prescription. But as much as I do that, and I want to feed my ego that I'm really good at what I do, nutrition, I can't stress enough, is 90% of the game. So yes, before, when I was a meat eater, I looked great in the mirror. However, internally I was not healthy. Now I look great in the mirror, and I know internally my blood is clean. I'm very alkaline, not a very favorable environment for disease to thrive in one's body. So
Yep.
For me, I know I'm healthier both inside and out. Now, that being said, that 10% of proper exercise prescription is huge, especially for somebody like me, being a tall, lanky person, which is more of an ectomorph. It's as soon as I stop training, or I don't eat enough calories, or basically I lose my size.
Yep.
And I really, because I am so tall and lanky, it's not so appealing. Especially if you're competing and you're on stage next to guys who are shorter and buffer, and you just look like a pencil up there.
Right.
But for me, in all the education I've gone through, being a strength coach and whatnot, obviously training for your body shape and size and somotype is really important. And obviously learning more about exercise philosophy, and how to actually go through a hypertrophy phase, a strength phase, an endurance phase, depending on what your goals are. So that combined with proper nutrition, it's really not that difficult. Don't get me wrong, it's tough enough, but at the same time it's not impossible. Whereas people now, there's like P90X out there, and all the different trying to make $1 type programs where it's do this program for 8 weeks and you get these crazy results and look like the person on the cover. Well, like you mentioned when you were describing me in the beginning, yeah, I've been on the cover of magazines, and I've written articles, and I've been the model within the articles and the different programs that they write and that they create for people. But those programs aren't for everybody, right? I mean, for you and I training, I've seen videos of you and how you train. A lot of things that you do, I could do, and could benefit me with the goals I have. However, it may not benefit the next person.
Right.
Somebody who is shorter or stockier, who needs to lose more weight, who may not have the same training background that you have, or may not have the same levels of stress that you and I both go through. So all those things really come into play if you really want to achieve the physique that you're looking for. Yes, diet's 90% of it, training's 10%. That's obviously the 100 right there, but just the extra little 1 or 2% that goes into lifestyle and stresses and your past experience and things like that.
Yeah, that's a huge emphasis you're putting on nutrition and being almost 90%. Do you have like a different nutrition for bulking up or for stripping down, or when you go up on stage, do you have a specific routine? Maybe you're going to go up on stage in a few months' time. Do you go, okay, now I've got to bulk up and then strip the fat down? How do you do that?
Nutritionally, not much changes, maybe a little more calories here and there, maybe through an extra meal or maybe 2 extra meals, but other than that, nothing really changes. And those meals again would be probably fruit based if it's in the morning, or another extra salad with fats and things like that at night. But more or less it's how you train, right? I mean, if I'm trying to bulk up for a competition, I'm going to go through a few weeks phase of some strength work and some power work so I can recruit some more muscle fibers. So when I go back into the hypertrophy, which I think is the most boring thing in the world, having done it for 10 years, but at the same time, it's kind of a necessity when you're going on stage. You almost have to do it for a few weeks. But so if you can kind of get the most out of that hypertrophy phase, that yes, you may need to eat a few more calories, but at the same time, your training sparked those extra, not so much the new muscle fibers, but you activated the muscle fibers that you already had. And that way, when you do your hypertrophy, those muscle fibers can now grow. And that's just learning about proper exercise physiology and trying to achieve those specific goals. Now, I'd say out of the people that I train, I'd say like only 5% of those people want to step on stage. So for the most part, I still take them through different phases just for the sake of teaching them and kind of educate them on the benefits of what I can bring to the table for them. Yeah. But at the same time, it's if somebody's just trying to get fit, healthier and be more fit, then doing more like full body exercises daily, Monday through Friday would be best. And there might be some periodization there with some heavier weeks and heavier weights, lower reps. There might be some weeks where it's more endurance based, higher reps, but for the most part it all really depends on somebody's goal.
Okay. What exactly do you mean by hypertrophy? Some people might not really understand what you mean by that. Can you kind of describe that and give us a picture?
For sure. So hypertrophy phase is more of just like I like to call it the swole phase. You may not be any stronger, but you look bigger. So you think of a bodybuilder versus like an Olympic power lifter. A bodybuilder probably looks better to the eye and aesthetically speaking than the power lifter does. However, 9 times out of 10, that power lifter is so much more strong and more functional than that bodybuilder. Yeah. And that's more of just a phase that somebody needs to go through if they want to step on stage, because they do need that size. And like I was telling you before with myself, if I don't get the calories, or if I don't train properly, or if I don't train for a while, I will lose a little bit of my size. And not so much I lose muscle, it's just that it's not activated. I can still do whatever 30 chin-ups or whatever it may be. However, if I do 15 chin-ups with weight on myself, or weight on my strapped across my lap or my hips, then I'm now taxing my arms a little bit more, my back a little bit more, and trying to elicit some growth.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what would be maybe the main mistakes you see people making in the gym that come in? They're trying to get in good shape. What are the main sort of mistakes? Or
the biggest thing I see at my wellness center is that just everybody comes in and they either have a program they picked, like I was mentioning before, a program they picked out of a magazine, and they're doing something that because the model in the magazine looked great, they think that model did that workout and it's the next great thing. Or they have no plan, and both are just as bad. So unfortunately, what I see in the gym a lot is just people going through the same, basically going through the motions. They're at the gym and they're thinking that they're doing something great for themselves. Which, don't get me wrong, it's better than sitting, better sitting, than sitting at their desk or whatnot. However, they'll hit that plateau where things just aren't. It doesn't matter what they think they're trying to do, their body won't change, and that's where I think everybody should have a trainer at some point, whether it may be an online trainer or somebody in their gym, somebody they seek out and just get advice from. Because as much as our industry is very watered down, there's a lot of bad information out there and a lot of weekend type training certifications out there that and a lot of trainers are also double as actors, myself included. When I first started out, I was just as much an actor as I was a trainer, which if you really want to devote your time to something and be really, really good at something, you should probably pick one or the other. So I think for the most part, people in the gym or the wellness center that I'm affiliated with, is just that people think that they can do it on their own and achieve everything they want to achieve. However, they really need some guidance and some instruction, because like I was saying before, if somebody has the mentality of, or the goal of just getting bigger, they may think that, well, I'm not going to do any powerlifting, because why would I want to work within the 3 to 5 rep range when I know that if I need to get hypertrophy, I'm supposed to be in the 6 to 12 rep range. What they don't understand is what I just told you earlier about, if they can go through a phase of strength and power and activate and stretch those muscle fibers that they already have, when they go back to the hypertrophy, which they know is what bodybuilders do, they'll actually get 10, 15, 20% better results. And I think it's even more than that actually, but better results than just doing a year-long hypertrophy phase. And a lot of times people just do the same program from January 1st, 2010 to December 30th, 2010 too. It's like I see the same thing all the time. I can almost walk through the gym at some point and tell each person where they're going to go next, because I've seen it so often.
So how often should we change around the routines?
Usually for my online clients and the people that we train at the wellness center, and including the programs that we go through, every 8 weeks we change it up. But you can go anywhere between like 6 to 10 weeks. I think 10 is pushing it. I like 8 weeks, but and people even do every month, which is okay too. But anything less than that, you really can't gauge your progression in something. Like, you're just starting to get good at something, and then you change it, and it's kind of like, well, your body needs change, but at the same time, your mind and your not so much your ego, but your mind and your mentality needs to kind of see progression, so you know that you're doing something properly.
You're a kettlebell trainer, right?
Yes, I am.
What's the benefits of kettlebell? Why not just use the general sort of weights and machines that are in the gym? Why the kettlebells? What's the benefit?
Kettlebells are great because the weight displacement on them. So you can do a lot of things with kettlebells that you can do with dumbbells, but with dumbbells the weight's evenly distributed, whereas a kettlebell, obviously displacement's a little bit different, especially for overhead things, where if you have a kettlebell locked out overhead, it's kind of pulling you back. So you really have to engage your core. It's like, I think almost 100% more than if you were using a dumbbell just to stay upright and erect. So any kind of kettlebell exercise, especially the ballistic ones, which are by nature the true kettlebell exercises with the swings and the cleans and the snatches, they're all very powerful exercises that people can do. But now you can add the endurance aspect to it. So yes, you can go heavy and rep out 2 or 3 maximum kettlebell lifts, but you have to be really good with your form. And myself, I don't even go that heavy as well, because as much as I'm an instructor, I'm not the creator or anything like that. So for me to go really heavy and just do 2 or 3 reps of a kettlebell snatch really isn't proper training for myself, and I would never do that to my clients either. However, you take those great exercises like swings and snatches and cleans, you use a little bit lighter weight in the form of a kettlebell as opposed to a barbell, and you can go 20 reps, 30 reps, you can go time, different time intervals and things like that. So you're basically using your full body with a kettlebell in almost every lift that you do.
Okay, yeah.
So, for women especially, a lot of women are really scared or intimidated by a kettlebell because, whether they're black or, they're just iron color. Luckily, there's the international ones that are pink and yellow, so women tend to gravitate more towards them, thankfully. Yeah. But once women start using them, and it's not so much the feeling of, oh, my biceps feel really good, I must be getting a great workout. It's nothing like that. It's you're sweating, you're activated all the muscle groups, and then when you're done a workout, you feel drained, like you feel like you actually worked out as opposed to just working out your arms. So obviously for women and for guys too, especially myself when I'm going through a cutting phase, for if I'm competing or if I'm getting ready for a photo shoot, I'll use kettlebells a lot just because I can do so many full body weight type or full muscle group exercises, whether it's, like I said, clean, snatches, or swings, that I'm getting more bang for my buck.
Right. And you just mentioned women training there. Should women train differently to men? Because you see it a lot in the gym is women go in to do something completely different to what most of the men are doing.
Right.
What should women do in the gym to get the physique they want?
I believe, other than obviously the hip alignment for women is a little bit different than men, other than jumping and things like that, plyometric wise for lower body, I believe women should train exactly the same as men. Right. Weights can be a little bit obviously lighter, but at the same time the exercises they can do are the same that we can do. The only thing like I said earlier, mentioned, is just that the hip angle and the knees coming in, any kind of plyometric movement. If you're starting somebody out who has never done plyometrics and they're 30 years old, they sat at a desk for their whole life, I wouldn't give them any kind of plyometric movement. But if you're dealing with an athlete who played basketball or volleyball or had been used to jumping at an early age, then training with them is a little bit easier because they have the muscles that that have already been developed in order to land properly and whatnot during plyometrics.
Yep. Women are one of the things they're always afraid of is getting muscle bound, and that's one of the reasons they shy away from using the weights, and then they quite often don't get the results they're looking for.
Exactly.
Because of they're either just walking on the treadmill or they might be sitting on a bike or whatever, So what is the how valid is that by getting muscle bound, etc.?
Well, I think if it was that easy, I think I'd be huge.
Yes.
It's one of those things where the more muscle you have, the more fat you're going to burn at rest. And I think once we start educating, and I say women just because it's the topic we're on, but men too. I have just as many men in the wellness center who don't want to go through different things because they're like, oh, I don't want to get huge. And it's like, well, you know what? You're not going to get huge unless you eat 1 million different calories and you train every day and blah blah. Yes, I want you to train every day, but we're not going to train you in that kind of periodization I was mentioning earlier. But for women, the more muscle that you have, and for men, the more muscle you have, the more body fat you're going to lose at rest, which is what we all want. That's kind of the magic pill in a way of, I don't have to do anything, but yet I'm still burning fat. Well, you do that by gaining more muscle.
Yes. Yeah. And what is the truth about abs, Nathan?
Abs are made in the kitchen, my friend. Yes, abs are made in the kitchen. And as far as crunches go, there's a great Dr. Stuart McGill here. He's actually a Canadian doctor, and he has a great, I can't remember the name of the book offhand here, but he's got a bunch that are all, he's basically the back doctor. All the colleges and universities in the States here know of him and use his services. But I'm actually just doing a little put together a little video here for Sun Warrior, and we're doing some core work, and a lot of it, actually all of it, is exercises that you do without implementing a crunch whatsoever. And it's just because the amount of pressure that a person's spine goes through during a crunch is I think is like equivalent to 700 pounds on your lower vertebrae.
Really?
And that's just body weight. So things I see in the gym, I'm sure you see it a lot too. Mm-hmm. Is that people will put weights behind their heads and they'll do crunches and things like that, and it's just it may not hurt you now, but down the road your back health, and as you get older, is obviously something that we don't want to mess with. And I think if people can get away from that and actually do core stabilizing exercises, things like planks and side planks and rollouts and anti-rotation exercises, I can go on, but that's basically where you get your core strength from. Mm-hmm. Now, I think you were hinting to more of where do you get the visual six-pack from, and like I said, that's pretty much abs or meat in the kitchen and training properly. So things like kettlebells and using intervals and more of a high-intensity training kind of protocol, you'll shed the fat and lose all the extra pounds around the waistline.
Yep. And what would you say is the best way to burn fat? Are there specific exercises you would give to people who maybe you've got a client comes in and says, look, I just want to burn some fat up? What would you recommend?
So kind of back to the kettlebell, and just like I would use the same techniques and the same protocols if I was getting ready for on stage competition. But kettlebell thing, all full body exercises are phenomenal. You don't have to use a kettlebell. You can use body weight too, squats and push-ups and chin-ups and things like that. Yeah. You add a kettlebell to it, and now you can do cleans and snatches, and obviously sprinting is going to be a great thing too if the person's able to sprint. If they're not able to sprint and they're relatively new, in the training realm, you can always put them on a bike or an elliptical trainer or a rowing machine or something like that, and then work them through a course of high intensity intervals to get them to lose that body fat that they wouldn't get if they were just walking on a treadmill at 3.5 at an incline of 10, that I'm sure we all are accustomed to seeing people do.
Yeah. Okay. And how often would you recommend that people train?
It depends again. If you're starting out, I usually 2 to 3 times a week for a week or two, and then gradually build them up to 3, 4. I would like to see people basically work out every day, maybe take one day off. Just doesn't have to be intense every day. Yeah. They can kind of switch it up. Mondays and Thursdays may be their high intensity days. Tuesdays and Fridays may be a little bit lower intensity but longer duration. Wednesday might be a day off. Yeah. Saturday might be just go out and do something fun. Okay. Or whatever it may be. So I would like somebody to do something. It's actually a quote I think from the actor Matthew McConaughey, who's obviously known for always taking his shirt off, but he always has a motto he lives by. You want to sweat every day, and I think it's a good motto. I mean, a lot of people can use to sweat every day, and even for us who are in shape and fit and healthy, it's still not a bad motto to live by. So again, it doesn't have to be super intense every day, but as long as you're doing something, I think that's great. For our bodies are meant to move. We're not meant to sit at a desk, and unfortunately the way we have industrialized and everything else, that we pretty much now are stuck to our chairs, and people are looked down upon if they actually get up and do something active, even though it probably does benefit them more in the productivity, whether at work or at home.
Yeah. What was it? 1 second. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about CV training. Would you do like one day CV cardiovascular training, then the next day weights, or would you mix it up and do both each day? What would you do?
For our wellness clients that we take through an 8-week program, we have strength days Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we call them cardio days or conditioning days Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, on those conditioning days, it's not like I said, it's walking on a treadmill at 3.5 incline of 10. We're doing like body weight sequences or complexes, or we're using a light kettlebell going through 6 or 7 different exercises, or sometimes I'll do a boot camp structure. Sometimes I'll do an obstacle course just to make it fun and make it more, get that cardiovascular training in, but at the same time staying away from the machines. So we're still using our muscles, we're still using our body and using all the different movements that God gave us, but at the same time You know, we're just staying far away from the machine and the boring, you know, looking at the TV or, you know,
Right.
talking to somebody. The one that kills me the most is people talking to each other, watching the Food Network.
Yeah. Right.
That one always drives me nuts. But you know, obviously the Tuesday, Thursday conditioning, that's good for the people that we train, because where I'm at is more of a corporate facility where people are stuck to their desk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm training an athlete, that might be a little bit different, and you know, it depends again on a person's sport and their goals, if they're in shape, if they're out of shape, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and how about supplementation? Do you supplement much, or do you recommend supplementation?
Right now, I don't supplement too much. I've mentioned, you know, I do use a Sun Warrior protein powder. It's an organic, raw, vegan protein powder that I like a lot. Other than that, sometimes I use like a beet glutamine, and then the other things I take are more of superfoods. In my, you know, if you want to be specific, I like to call them superfoods. However, they are probably still supplements, and the things I take are more spirulina, chlorella, probiotics, things like that. And I also use an EFA oil as well, which is algae based as opposed to fish fish based. So those things I do take once in a while, depending on how intense my training is. However, for all my clients, especially at the wellness facility, they're not really athletes. So other than, you know, giving them recommending a protein powder, I usually just tell them, you know, if you're eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and you're eating enough of them, you should be able to get everything you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And just say, you know, somebody wants to achieve this cover model body, become a competitive fitness model. What are the steps starting from zero? You know, what are the give us some steps that we just need to take to achieve that?
Being consistent. You know, it's one of those things where everybody wants it and they want it now. And you know, I'm guilty of it just as much as the next person. It's just that you got to be consistent, and that means, you know, being consistent with your nutrition, being consistent with your workouts, whether it be, you know, cardiovascular or strength training, or, you know, a mixture of both. Being consistent with your sleep, being consistent with your water, trying to live a stress-free, or at least, you know, a minimal stress and very happy life. So you're not always, you know, worried about what's coming around the corner, where you can take things in stride. And you know, it's all about you know, this may not be the answer that everybody is looking for or wants, but it truly is consistency and belief in yourself that you can do something. And again, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Like, we're not going to get the 300 body tomorrow. It's going to take, you know, 3 months and 4 months, but you know, the more consistent you are, the better off you're going to be. I like to kind of make the analogy, or at least for all our clients, if, you know, there's 365 days in a year, if you can honestly say that you followed your routine, and it's a good routine, for, you know, 300 and let's say 40 of those days, or 330 of those days, which is a month, if you you know, falling off the wagon, chances are you're still going to achieve a greater portion of your goals. Now, the closer you are to 364 or 65 days a year, yeah, obviously you're going to get the body that you want, or the lifestyle that you want. And that goes for everything, you know, whether it's business success or professional life or home life or love life. But
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with consistency. You know, I just throughout the years, just seeing different people coming into the gym, and they might train for a few months and get some good results, and then you wouldn't see them again for 6 months, and then they'd come in again,
yes,
and then they'd do it again, and it's like going on and off the treadmill sort of thing. And another big thing I saw was just intensity in the workouts, where, you know, a person might come into the gym for 2.5 hours,
yeah,
but in that time, maybe half of that is spent, you know, standing at the water fountain, chatting to people, you know, just walking around, and I don't know, just not really training very intensely, where they could condense that 2.5 hour workout into, you know, maybe 20 minutes, and get an even more a better workout actually.
100% agree. Yep, no doubt.
So those two things I definitely saw was the lack of consistency and lack of intensity when they actually were in the gym, and were being the two biggest contributors. I'd see people who've been training for 10 years, and you know, they weren't progressing. You know, maybe they got
Right.
all their results in the first 6 months to a year, and then after that, it just I suppose just plateaued and never really got past that plateau?
I mean, I don't know about you, but for myself, and especially at the wellness center, because we have to get people back to their desks within that hour. Otherwise, it's a really tough sell to allow, or to have CEOs and the presidents of the company to allow their employees to take that hour off during the day. So for us, our challenge is to get people down there and get them, going through a foam rolling session, any kind of corrective exercise they might need, a little bit of yoga, and then warm up. Work out for 25 to 30 minutes, cool down, stretch, and have them out of there in 45 minutes so they can have 15 minutes to kind of shower, get back to their desk type thing. And then obviously we recommend bringing food to your work, so that way you can cut down on the on the lunchtime type thing. But for us, that 45 minutes is extremely crucial, and it's very similar to a lot of like strength coaches in the university and even not so much the professional ranks, but more university, where they have they just have an hour. Yep. And in that hour per week or that hour per day type thing, they have to get as much as they possibly can into that training session to make sure their athletes are always progressing, getting stronger, faster, and whatnot. And same with us. I mean, whether you're an athlete or a desk jockey, it's get in, get out, right. And make sure it's high intensity, and you're not stopping to, like you said, talk at the water fountain or look at yourself in the mirror flexing your biceps and whatever. But a lot of times, even if like I was saying, being consistent, if you had a rough night, you didn't sleep, or you're just not feeling it that day, that's fine. Just go to the gym anyway, do what you can, get in and get out. And that way you at least at the end of the day said, okay, it may not have been the most intense workout, but I went. Yep. And then the next day, hopefully, whether you slept or you drank enough water or you feel better, then you can get back on track. But a lot of people just feel like, well, if I can't give my 110% of intensity, I'm not going to go to the gym. It's a waste of time. And I think that's kind of where they're wrong. Is you want to make things a habit, and that's all about part of being consistent.
Yeah, and I think as well, maybe what stops a lot of people training when they lose motivation is when they hit plateaus and they don't see the progress. Do you have any specific strategies for overcoming plateaus and breaking through?
This may sound a little bit cocky, but hire a trainer.
Right, yeah.
It's one of those things where we go to school for a reason, and the trainers that have been around for quite a while and have gone through this and have kind of stood the test of time are the people that you want to go to. And they can help you with, and it may be tweaking something small, it may be tweaking your whole program, who knows, but at the same time, at least you're getting information from somebody who does this on a daily basis and knows what to expect. And it's tough to kind of, like, as much as I want to give as much information as I possibly can to somebody, it's tough because you're trying to change somebody's nutritional habits, you're trying to change their mentality, the way they look at working out, you're trying to change so many things when you see them. And I want to help so many people that I forget to tell them that, okay, we're going to change this up in 8 weeks, or whatever it may be. So if somebody doesn't train with a trainer and doesn't have that professional help, they have their magazine workout, nowhere in that magazine workout says to change it up in 8 weeks. So they may do that same workout all the time, and they might get great results in the first 3-4 weeks, but then they're going to plateau. Whereas if they would have changed one small thing, whether it's your rest time, or whether it's just a slight increase in weight, or you added a few more repetitions, or whatever it may be, you could probably still maximize your gains out of that 8-week program that you got from magazines. I'm not saying all magazine programs are bad. No, it's just that you have to realize that it's not a one size fits all type program. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, magazine workouts. That's how I first started off. When I was a teenager, I'd buy the bodybuilders magazines.
You bet.
and I would follow their workouts. These professional bodybuilders that tell you what workouts they're doing. I'd be following those workouts, and what it was massive overtraining.
Oh yes, exactly.
like a million sets and just completely blasting, just like isolated muscle groups and things. And it was once I actually cut down on everything, that's when the gains started to happen.
Yeah.
Because before that,
and that's just smart training. It's you know your body, and obviously with professional body, I'm not saying all bodybuilders get into this, but obviously with the amount of sets and reps and everything else that they do, you have to recover fast. And obviously the steroid scandal has been through
Yeah.
pretty much every sport now.
Yeah.
But obviously bodybuilding is probably where it
Most
was
prevalent.
the birthplace.
Right.
So obviously, doing 10 sets of 20 reps or 10 reps, and you're doing the exact same workout 3 days later. I mean, yeah, they can recover because they have that little extra something. Whereas, myself included, yourself, normal people and normal athletes who aren't going that route will obviously need more time to recover. And that's if they're doing the isolation bodybuilding type workout. But yeah, I mean, we all kind of went that. What's the magazine back in the day? Flex or any of those magazines. Yeah. I mean, I've taken my share of workouts too. So.
Do you have any like pre or post workout meals that you take? Anything specific as a raw vegan?
Pre-workout, I just like to have fruit for the most part. I like smoothies a lot. However, I'm trying to eat more whole fruits as opposed to just always drinking them.
Yeah.
Especially pre-workout, just because I don't have to eat as much. So I'll have like 2 or 3 bananas and a handful of goji berries or something like that for pre-workout. And then post-workout's more or less where I have like the Sun Warrior protein powder with some dates, so I can take advantage of that high glycemic spike.
Yep.
And then I'll add in some glutamine and maybe another handful of goji berries, and that's usually about it. When I was a carnivore, I was more into supplements, and then I think a lot of it was from the bodybuilding magazines and a lot of the education that I had that didn't really go into having whole foods, whether they were plant-based or not. So I think a lot of times, a lot of people who aren't vegan or vegetarian and they follow these magazines, they kind of get sucked into all the supplementation. If you pick up a magazine, every other page is a supplement ad anyway, so it's tough for everyday people to kind of decipher the BS to the truth.
Yeah.
But, how about you? I mean, I know you're working. I've seen your workouts quite a bit. Do you have any pre and post workout that you always stick to, or are you kind of easygoing?
Nothing I specifically stick to. After my workouts, I like a carrot juice. Love to have a pint or a liter of carrot juice after my workouts, and just before my workouts, I like to make sure I have a good bit of energy. So yeah, generally I might have a banana smoothie or something like that, just to, so I can have that energy and blast through the workout.
I find post-workout as well, pineapple juice, if I juice it fresh and then add that as my liquid in my shake, I just get this great feeling of, I don't know if it's I want to say a buzz, but I just feel great. It's almost like I can feel myself recovering. I almost want to try that pre-workout to see if I still feel that buzz type thing. And I don't know what it is, but I know pineapple is obviously high glycemic, so maybe that could be part of it, and maybe it gets digested a little bit faster than the dates would, even though they are still pre-digested in the form of a smoothie. But I just know that pineapple juice for some reason affects me that way. I'm not sure if it affects anybody else that way, but definitely get a pump from that, or an energy spike.
Yeah. I must try that. Try that tomorrow, actually. Well, do you have anything else? Because we covered quite a lot there, Nathan. Do you have anything else you'd like to share that you feel is important? Maybe we haven't covered.
I think, for my philosophy, and it's, there's obviously the strength training part of it. There's the nutrition part, which is, plant-based. I think the third element that we're kind of missing, or that I help educate people on, is kind of restoration, and that's meditation and yoga and hot cold showers if you have sore muscles and things like that, as opposed to obviously taking the easy, or not the easy way out, but the medicated way out of Advil and things like that. But kind of your brain, even though it's not technically a muscle like your heart is, it still needs training. And I think if you can be a little bit stronger mentally, whether that may be through meditation or maybe through yoga or something like that, or qigong or something like that, that might be something that people kind of look down upon. But if I can get them to do just a little bit, whether it's 5 minutes a day of just sitting in a dark room, and whether it may be before bed or the first thing when you get up, and just think about what you want to accomplish that day, I can almost guarantee everybody will feel a little bit better. And that could be in like I said, the form of meditation. It could be different styles of yoga, things like that. If people can kind of wrap their mind around that, not only will they benefit mentally, but physically as well, and spiritually, of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. That gives the whole picture. That's a wholesome way of living, right?
Yes, it's the mind, body, spirit. Obviously it's a kind of a tag word now in our society at the moment, but it truly is, the three pillars of health and longevity in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's very easy to get sidetracked and forget about the health if we get into the weight training, and it's just all about the look and building bigger muscles and getting stronger, and then we're forgetting about our health, about our internal organs, and all of that starts to suffer then. And I've seen it with bodybuilders. I've seen bodybuilders a good friend of mine, heart attack at the age of 33, just from focusing on the weights and the gym and the bodybuilding and the forgetting about the holistic aspect of everything.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, bodybuilding, even in the competitions that I compete in, the fitness modeling, I mean, they really aren't that healthy. And as much as you may look great on stage for those 15 minutes, or for fitness models maybe a little bit longer than bodybuilders, but it really isn't all that healthy with all the dehydration tactics that people use, and the carb loading and carb restricting, and manipulating their salt intake and things like that. I mean, it's a whole science there.
Yep.
That I know if bodybuilding is a sport and that's what it's all about, and not that I agree with it, but that's something at least that I think it's more accepted. But then you get into more fitness modeling, where I think a fitness model, my definition of fitness model is a lot different than what I think these federations have as their definition. I mean, I don't want a fitness model to go through the hydration, dehydrating themselves. I mean, that's not fitness. I wouldn't tell a client to do that. So why would I want to portray that the body that I have with all these different tactics is attainable? Whereas, everyday person is not going to go through the dehydration, the carb loading, the salt manipulation, tanning, oiling up, and things like that, right? So a lot of times I think, and myself included, I've been on the cover of magazines that have done, those things as well. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where I just kind of look at it and I look down upon it, because it's not really something that people can attain with the current knowledge that, unless somebody helps them out with that. But again, I wouldn't want to help somebody go through all those things. They're pretty dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's just, I think it's kind of I don't know what's the word here I'm looking for, but the fitness industry is you have to be very careful of the information that you get, and who funds the different studies, and all these different things that who's really benefiting. Are the people really benefiting from the magazine or the supplement company or the product, or is somebody just trying to make a dollar? Whereas people can just need to get up and get healthier and eat whole foods, and do a little bit of yoga and meditation, great, give back to their mind spiritually and mentally, and go from there. Or are they just kind of sucked into the facade that the fitness industry says, you need to look like this person, even though that person, doesn't look like that 362 days of the year. Yeah. Sure. But it's too bad. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, there are people that are trying to fight this, and hopefully we can take over and give people physiques and lifestyles more important than anything is lifestyle, a more attainable approach to things, as opposed to what's currently being showed or portrayed.
Yeah, that's great, and you're definitely doing it. That's something that I wanted to maybe demonstrate or to share with this interview with you, is to just to demonstrate that you can achieve a very, 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 very good cover model, fitness model type physique without going down the route of being very unhealthy and
exactly
taking the drugs and all those unhealthy supplements that are out there as well. You can do it in a very, very healthy way. I think we've done that, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, awesome. Just to finish off, can you just tell us a bit about your services, what you offer online, how people can get a hold of you?
Website is www.nathanejackson.com. That's NATHANE JACKSON. It's kind of an older site. We're doing in the midst of some revamp right now and just making it a little bit more interactive. But the online program that I have there is very similar to what I currently offer. And it's just one of the things where I take people through not only their nutrition plans, and I create workouts for everybody within a 12-week cycle. So they usually get two workouts in that 12 weeks. and they also have access to different yoga videos and information on meditation and things like that. So again, very well-rounded mind, body, spirit type philosophy that I go by, and trying to educate people more and more on that. And then obviously like more of the holistic side of things for treatment of ailments and diseases and things like that. So not that I can help cure everything, but I can always help people get in touch with the right people to help them. So it's one of those things where, I'm a strength coach and, slash nutritionist type thing, but I really do so much more in order to help people live a more fulfilling and prosperous life.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan. It's been a pleasure to be speaking with you, and you shared some great information there, so thank you for that.
It's been great, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is Transformation Talk, and my name is Matthew Armstrong. Speak to you next time.